Hello, this is Greg Allison with Galactic Greg's, coming to you from an undisclosed location somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy on the 9th of March 2020. And I'm going to talk to you about the COVID-19 virus and its impacts on the aerospace industry, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm going to lead off by saying there's already impacts. It has already hit the aerospace industry, principally at NASA. Pardon me for that little earthquake. It has impacted NASA. NASA Ames has had a case show up there at their center, and NASA Ames is in shutdown. Everyone there is teleworking. Only essential personnel are allowed to go on NASA Ames site. They're going to try to get the place cleaned up. It's interesting, this comes immediately after Friday, NASA had an agency-wide telework exercise, just in time, I might add. The agency is trying to be proactive, not reactive, but the question is, can they be proactive enough? Is this stuff already out and about within NASA and the community? Yes, actually it is in Ames, maybe elsewhere. I'll go into that a little bit more in a moment. So, I would like to mention that you can support this channel by supporting the links below that are associated with my sister channel, Green Greg's. I'm going to refer you back to Green Greg's in a moment. Now, that said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. What could possibly be the good of a situation like this? Well, there can be some good. The good is that the agency is looking at telework. Telework really should be the model of future work. For office type work, for engineering, for clerical type work, all these things that have you sitting in a cube. That is so 20th century. This is the 21st century. We have all the tools at our disposal today for telework, for remote work, including metering. We can tell what people produce. There is no need for some sense of false security and reward to have people sit in front of a manager. That is a cultural impediment. That is a carryover, cultural inertia from the 20th century that is not needed in the 21st century. It is inefficient. It also reduces the resiliency of your organization and increases the overhead of your organization. We could do away with a vast bulk of office space in our admin, engineering, and business support centers and our offices in general across the nation and across the board in all industries if we take the initiative to do it. This may be the window of opportunity for us to learn culturally that we don't need to be facing each other constantly because we have the means to telework, to telecommute, to teleconference, video, audio, emails, all our documents up on servers, secure systems. We have that ability now. It is there in every measure you could want through all kind of different vendors. And we can polish and refine and make that better. The advantage of that is that we can be more resilient as a society. We do not have to use all the energy to get back and forth to work. We don't have to use all the energy to maintain all these facilities. We don't have to maintain the facilities, the expense, the overhead. Organizations that learn this lesson first can outcompete and whip organizations that are tied to the brick and mortar model hands down, just like Amazon has taken stores away. We can do this across so many other industries. Yes, we have to build rockets. Yes, we have to build things. But we can do it with the admin side of it, the engineering side of it, the business side of it, not in office space. We can still visit these places. We can still see what's happening. We do not need to have all of this FaceTime that we have today, which is so 20th century, as I've mentioned. So that is the good of it. The good of it is that people won't have to sweat to the frustration of driving to work in the morning, going home in the afternoon, fighting the traffic, expending all the energy required to do that. It will make people have less stress in their lives not fighting traffic twice a day. That might make them far more productive in the workplace. I have run a virtual company that operated this way, and we absolutely did outcompete brick and mortar aerospace companies. It's called the High Altitude Research Corporation. I'll go into that more in the future. But we accomplished amazing things with very little money because we eliminated most of the overhead. Yeah, we did have places where we produced things. We built rockets, but our engineering was not done in engineering facilities. Our overhead was so reduced, it was incredible. And our performance was much, much, much higher. Not 1, 2 times, more than 10 times higher than a traditional aerospace company. We accomplished great things. I'll go into that later. However, that is the hope. That's the good. The bad. Like you saw these parts behind me, we have manufacturing coming from many different countries. In aerospace, we try to make our manufacturing in America as domestic as possible. Yeah, I can get my tongue tangled. We try to produce as much here as is possible for security reasons. There are still things that come from overseas. There are still things that come from China, for example. However, even when you're making your own stuff, these systems you use to make your stuff, the machines you use to manufacture with, the machines that move things around, a lot of this has pieces and parts that come from overseas. The supply chain is breaking down for what's coming from overseas, and the supply chain can be expected to break down here in the United States also as people go into potential quarantines, where they're either self-imposed quarantines where people just don't want to go to work, or they're imposed quarantines. This also will have us looking more into robotics for manufacturing purposes, I'm sure. And that may be another window of hope and opportunity. But for right now, we're going to see disruptions in parts and services. When you consider that China is the manufacturing center of the world today, and they have shut down the heart and core of that manufacturing, when there are tens of thousands of shipping crates that are not being delivered, when ports are shut down. Even if this has just been a situation for a few months, it's going to hurt. It's going to be a disruption. The entire bow wave hasn't reached us yet, but the disruption is already set in the system from that. We see disruptions to our stock market. As goods and services become unavailable, the economy falters. The economy is the tax base that funds the civil side of government-funded aerospace. The commercial side, which requires people to have money, will also be impacted as people may reprioritize their spending. So all these things can be impacted. The communication side of this industry may actually come ahead in the long run, although it will be disrupted in the beginning because there may be more demand for services that permit us to telework. And therein may lie hope for companies like SpaceX launching their network of satellites, Skylink. Starlink, whatever it's called. Yeah, okay, excuse me. So, yeah, I'm getting kind of Terminator on us, right? Skynet, yeah, that's it, Skylink, not Skynet. Jeez. Anyway, that said, you can always laugh in any adversity. The bad is the disruptions. The bad is the economic impacts, what it will do technically to our industry on the bad side. But we can learn, we can adjust for that and outgrow it, but it will potentially put us behind. In an economy where you've got to worry about infections and manufacturing, if you quarantine things to shut down the infections, the manufacturing surface, the economy suffers. Well, at some point that's about to be extinguished. You have to open this back up. If you still have a very infective pathogen out there, then that pathogen will start to spread again when you start to open this up. You've got to find some kind of balance point, because you can't let the economy crash either, because that's also devastating to health of the people. You got to have operating hospitals and infrastructure, or you're in a world of hurt, both financially and health-wise. So you may have to strike some unholy balance. Fortunately, the idea of telework, fortunately, the idea of maybe more robotics for centralized manufacturing. I believe in more distributed manufacturing, distributed systems, decentralization of systems as much as possible, with the exception of some of the telecommunications and computer systems. I do believe we need to optimize resiliency through decentralization, which is not in favor of globalization, but that's a whole different thing. I believe additive manufacturing, 3D manufacturing, and I will be releasing a video on additive manufacturing, 3D printing of a deep space plasma rocket engine. That's next video coming almost immediately, because I've already filmed it. So therein lies the opportunity. There is opportunity, but there is the bad and there is the ugly. The ugly is we have this COVID-19 running around right now. Whatever you want to call it, whatever you think about it, it's not the flu. Most of you may think that. You may soon find out otherwise, because if you're steeped in mathematics, you should understand geometric progression. And anybody who watches this channel ought to know mathematics and geometric progression, the exponential powers of how things can grow, because this virus has a very high infectivity. The normal garden variety flu has an R0, or R0 as you might call it, of 1.28. The R0 is, if it's 1, that means one person with the virus infects one person. Therefore, it's not really, it's a very linear system that barely spreads at all. The garden variety flu has an R0 of about 1.28. This COVID-19 apparently has an R0, and it varies from country to country, culture to culture, circumstances to circumstances, environment to environment. But it looks like the R0 is greater than 4, which says you're going to have a very rapid geometric progression. Oh, Greg, more people die of the flu every year. That's because the flu has already progressed. It's everywhere. This virus is just getting started. You don't see doctors scared of the flu. Doctors are scared of this because this kills doctors and medical staff in the facilities where it's at, because it is so highly effective and infective, and because it has a higher case fatality rate. Now, chances are you're not going to die of it, but you're talking case fatality rate of the garden variety flu of 0.1%, 0.1%, 1 in 1,000. This seems, at least according to the World Health Organization, to have, and again, this may vary from culture to culture, and apparently S and L and perhaps other strains of this running around, a case fatality rate of 3.4. That's what the World Health Organization says. 3.4. That is 34 times higher than the garden variety flu. And it goes up, of course, in age group. And aerospace is dominated more and more by a lot of older people. There's younger people that, well, I don't have to worry about it. Well, you got to worry about what happens to your management, what happens to the organizational structures, and then mostly what happens to your family, your loved ones, your aunts, your uncles, your dad, your mom, grandpa, great-aunt, great-uncle. In my case, I worry about my brothers. I worry about my father. And that will impact us as individuals and our workforce. Even if we get through this thing healthy, if you smoke, if you're obese, if you have diabetes, or if you're like so many other young people in America today who sit on a couch all day and play with your little toys, you're not out getting sunlight. You're not getting the vitamin D3 you need, and you will find you're more susceptible than you might think. And so the case fatality rate or ratio, CFR, in America may wind up being higher. So we don't know how this thing is going to play out. In the case of the Spanish flu, when it passed, it made 2 passes. The first year, it was just like the garden variety of flu. It was not very much of a problem at all. But on this second go-around, it was very deadly. Will this flu do that? We have no idea. We don't know. It could die out. It could burn out. It could just stop tomorrow morning. Let's hope that. Or it could, we don't see much sign of that, though, and it could get far worse. So that's the ugly. So I did bring you, this is already impacting the aerospace industry. It will have more impacts on the aerospace industry. I gave you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And again, the good is that we can learn from this, and we can build a better, more resilient society and more resilient, more productive aerospace community in the long run. But we will not do that without a cost, without some suffering. And we have to be willing to accept the cultural changes this affords us of seeing what we can do working from home. That, I believe, will make us far more productive as a society, as an industry. Okay, that's my 2 cents. Tell me below what you think. You may totally disagree, and probably 90% of you will. That's all right, but time will tell. I'm telling you, there is an opportunity in this catastrophe that we can take advantage of. No, I do not like this catastrophe. Do not at all judge that. And I have my sister channel, Green Greg's, in which Green Greg gets on and tells you all about this thing facing us. He tells you how ugly it can be, and he tells you to prepare. He tells you to be aware and prepare. To don't be scared, to be prepared, to keep your eyes wide open and the head on a swivel. That's what he tells you, because his theme is to survive, thrive, and stay out of the hive. And that's what you need to watch and become aware of, because the things emphasized by Green Greg's is that you build up your immunity, you have good hygiene to prevent yourself as much as you can from getting this, and self-isolate as much as you can. Of course, that isolation is kind of a self-quarantine, which does have some economic impacts, but hopefully we'll learn how to work around it. And also on the Green Greg's channel, there's going to be an upcoming series of videos talking about how to live and thrive in this kind of environment. So check out my sister channel, Green Greg's, and look for that, because you might find it very informative. It's a different sort of channel. It's kind of a prepsteader channel. It's about prepping and homesteading and a lot of things like that. But these are things that you can know, that you can grow what you need to eat yourself. And hey, we settle space. Those are the kind of skills we're going to need up there. And that's one of the reasons Green Greg's is into it. So I've been on this enough. Just know that the impacts are coming. They're already here. They're already happening. There was going to be like I said, I'm doing this on the 9th of March. NASA's going to have an agency-wide town hall meeting tomorrow where they're going to discuss the go-forward plan on this. I have no idea what they're going to discuss. Some of you may be aware that I am a contractor. I do not in any fashion speak for NASA. I am not NASA, and I do not even speak for the company I contract for. So let's get that clear. I'm speaking for Greg Allison with Galactic Greg's. So, please subscribe to my channel and click the update notification bell for future videos. There'll be much more to come. I've been a little bit slow of late because I'm behind on taxes, and Green Greg's got me really busy running worms, among other things right now. But I will catch up. I've got a lot of really fun, interesting videos to come. So please stay tuned. Thank you for watching.